priced at 29. It opened at 27 yesterday, and now closing at 25.24. Right. So a tough debut.
Yeah, exactly. Let me give you your number one gainer, number one decliner. Wells Fargo, your number one gainer in the S&P 500, up 3.8%.
New boss.
That's right. New boss, Charlie Scharf, coming to take over at Wells Fargo. It's been almost 6 months that they've been searching for a CEO. He's got a lot to do. He's going to make a lot of money as well. But nonetheless, investors happy to see that there's a new CEO in place. Micron, your number one gainer in the S&P 500.
Decliner.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Number one decliner, thank you, in the S&P 500, pretty much finishing at its lows of the session. So we're talking about 11% to the downside. And that after investors, of course, the company reporting after the closing bell last night, and its outlook specifically disappointing investors.
All right, let's take a look at volatility. The VIX popping today largely on that decline that we saw owing to some Bloomberg headlines, to be candid. Yeah. The VIX closing up 6.7% at 17.1.
And can I just mention the House committee subpoena Secretary Pompeo for the Ukraine document? So that headline just crossing. So as we've said, the news out of Washington continuing. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, what are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door, it's Dave.
Who?
Dave.
Hey, Mr. Wilson!
Hey, Mr. Wilson. Dave Wilson here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. What you got for a stock?
I've got Concert Pharmaceuticals, Jason. It's a developer of medicines to treat chronic diseases such as immune system and central nervous system disorders. Concert was founded in 2006 and went public in 2014. The ticker is CNCE. The shares more than doubled from their initial price through December 2017 when they set a record. Concert lost a patent challenge the following month, January 2018, and the shares have worked their way lower since then. They fell to a new low today after an Alzheimer's drug being developed by a partner failed in a study. Concert licensed the treatment in 2012 to a company called Avanir, which was later bought by Japanese drug maker Otsuka Holdings. Now, Avanir had hoped the medicine would reduce agitation among Alzheimer's patients. The drug was the only one in Concert's pipeline that had reached the final stage of trials, known as Phase 3. Its failure sent the shares tumbling more than 36.5%. That was the stock's biggest loss ever. Concert closing at $6.25. That's less than half the initial price of $14 from 5 years ago.
Down 50% for the year overall.
Yep, that's what happens with these smaller companies. Yep. And it's not even necessarily their own work in this case. You know, it's somebody else's work. It's I wouldn't call it guilt by association, but you get the idea.
Exactly.
All right, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. I would tell you have a good weekend, but you're going to be back with us in just a few minutes talking a little Springsteen. It's tough duty for you. We know you love the boss. All right, there's a new exhibit, new book. It's going to be very exciting.
Looking forward to that. Coming up, though, we're going to talk about the vaping crisis because we did get an update on the number of vaping-related lung injury cases this week. So we'll get into that in just a moment.
First, let's get over to Bob Moon. He's got your world national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, the National Rifle Association and its relationship with Russia is the subject of a new report from Senate Finance Committee Democrats. It paints a picture of NRA leaders providing Russian officials access to American elected officials in exchange for lucrative business opportunities. According to the report, top officials at the NRA use the organization's financial resources, largely collected by member dues, to curry favor with two Russians at the top levels of the Central Bank of Russia. It's not funny, and it's certainly not appropriate. That's what Democrats and some Republicans are saying about what they see as a thinly veiled threat from President Trump against a whistleblower and those who helped him call attention to Trump's alleged wrongdoing. At a closed-door gathering in New York yesterday, Trump compared them to spies and joked about what used to be done with traitors. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is appalled by the president's conduct.
President of the United States is threatening a whistleblower's life. This is authoritarian behavior, and we have to recognize and see it for what it is.
Three House Chairmen, Schiff of Intelligence, Cummings of Oversight, and Engel of Foreign Affairs issued a joint statement warning Trump federal law prohibits efforts to discourage, intimidate, or otherwise pressure a witness to not provide testimony to Congress. The Trump administration may go beyond tariffs to penalize China. According to people familiar with the internal deliberations, the measures under consideration include delisting Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges. Global news 24 hours a day, on air, and at TikTok, on Twitter. I'm Bob Moon.
If there really were such a thing as business as usual.
Is this indicative of the consumer being a lagging indicator?
You wouldn't need Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney.
Is this about the profitability that these capital markets can generate for these big investment banks?
Bloomberg Markets.
What does it say to you that we are not seeing that acceleration in capital markets activity?
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies. Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
1 in 2 people believe they should check their work email on holiday. 1 in 3 believe it's okay to eat a colleague's lunch. And 1 in 14 believe it's okay to steal loo roll from work. People believe all sorts of strange things. Some people believe that insurance companies try to avoid paying claims. But last year, Zurich paid 99% of insurance claims made by their UK customers. Zurich, an insurance company you can believe in. To find out more, visit zurich.co.uk/99.
Oh, sorry, I can't take it. In London, everyone likes to communicate in their own way. If you run a business, the same should be true for your customers and your people. A cloud-based communication system from 8x8 breaks down barriers in ways your standard phone system can't, with voice, video meetings, chat, email, and contact center on one easy-to-use app. It also lets your people connect, create, and collaborate from anywhere in the world. Discover more at 8x8.co.uk. 8x8. Communications transformed.
No. No. No.
What are you doing?
I don't like any of our preset radio stations. We need a new car.
With the Jaguar E-Pace at $299 a month on personal contract hire, you'll find a reason.
That's better. And it's a Jaguar.
Initial rental £3,588. 48-month term. Subject to status. 8,000 miles per annum. Excess mileage and return conditions apply. No ownership option. Ends 30th of September. Participating retailers only. Jaguar contract hire.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden.
On breakfast. Tom Hanks is our special guest.
You're either being punished or rewarded. I'll let you decide.
I did do a whole show of grease on my front lawn when I was a kid. We charged everyone 10p. We raised a fiver, and I gave it to Bishop's Waltham Gymnastics Club towards a new crash mat.
Do they get the crash mat?
I mean, it took a couple more years, but yeah.
It does happen to normal people like you. You've won £20,000. Well done.
I love this game.
Breakfast with Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Weekdays from 6:30. Listen on your radio, global player, or smart speaker. Play hard.
Do you remember? Here at Tesco, we're still celebrating 100 years of great value, with even more great prices that take you back. Like a 24-pack of Diet Coke, from £8 to just £6.50. All this week at Tesco.
Selected stores subject to availability. Offer ends 1st of October.
On the road, I'm Fonseca with your daily sports update. Los Angeles Dodgers today, they're going to be facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Yeah, they're in San Francisco. That first pitch is at 10:15 p.m. Eastern.
The pitch, Posey, a big bouncing ball into left field, a base hit. He got by Castro on one big hop.
Dodgers versus the Giants, pitching matchup, Walker Buehler versus Johnny Cueto. Again, that first pitch is at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. If you want to find it, search MLB on TuneIn. That's your TuneIn Sports Update. Get social with TuneIn. Follow TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest and greatest audio happenings across the app. Explore exclusive content.
It's called Indie.
Learn about the hottest new podcasts.
The Nostalgia Mixtape, a new podcast hosted by yours truly, Savannah Shroudy.
And get alerted when the big game's about to begin.
This Sunday is Championship Sunday, when we'll find out which two teams are going to play for the Lombardi Trophy.
Tune into your feed and be in the know when it matters most.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Trade tensions rise, U.S. stocks slump, S&P ending the week with a 1% loss on the week. Today down 15 at 2961, a drop of 0.5%. The Dow declined 71 points, down 0.3%, 26,820 as we head into the weekend with the Dow. NASDAQ down 91 points today, a drop there of 1.1%. The 10-year up 430 seconds, yield 1.67%. Gold down 0.5%, ending the week below 1,500 at 1497. West Texas Intermediate crude up down 1% today, lower by 56 cents a barrel, 55.85 on WTI. Recapping, stocks lower, S&P fell 15, a drop there of 0.5%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week on Bloomberg Radio.
So, federal health officials said nearly 77% of cases of patients with vaping-related lung injuries had used products containing THC, adding to evidence that such vaping devices and cartridges are lead suspects in the widening epidemic. And this comes just yesterday. We heard the CDC saying the number of vaping-related lung injury cases stands at 805. That's up from 530 reported a week earlier. Let's get into this. Dr. Ian Lustbader is back with us, clinical associate professor of medicine at NYU Langone Medical Center, joining us back in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. Anytime I read about any of this, it makes me really somber, because I really feel like as regulators and people watching a market, we just kind of missed it.
Yeah, no question. Thanks for having me. It's really unfortunate that what started out as a potential way to help smokers transition into something safer has now really changed to be a public health threat.
Did we really think it was safer? Did we have the scientific evidence that said it was safer?
No. We know cigarettes, certainly, we've talked about this before, have a number of well-associated ills. But unfortunately, even the basic material, which is propylene glycol, gets heated and aerosolized, same material in smoke machines. Safe in food products, FDA approved, has not really been well studied and can cause irritation in and of itself without any additives. But it appears the 12 deaths and the 800-plus lung injuries seem to be mainly associated with additives, either flavors, but really more bootleg, counterfeit, possibly Chinese or other country THC, CBD oil and being cut with vitamin E, which when you ingest it is fine, but when you inhale it can cause severe lung irritation. It's a lipid that causes severe lung inflammation and respiratory distress syndrome. So it appears you have a baseline irritant, this propylene glycol, which to kids appears cool. 40% of high school seniors report having tried vaping.
Incredible.
But when these other additives come in, unregulated, bootleg, because they look interesting or cheaper, a lot of those materials cause severe lung injury, and they've even found pesticides, heavy metals, organic chemicals like benzene, and material that gets metabolized to hydrogen cyanide. So there's being unregulated.
And in this kind of device,
you're inhaling it directly into your lungs and into the bloodstream, in essence. So we really need significant regulation. Some states have started to ban flavors, but it may not just be the flavors or the underlying vaping material. It's probably these bootleg additives, and I think it turns out, like anything, unregulated, if you let people buy whatever they want or import and sell, buy cheaply and sell to kids, you risk a lot of problems.
And that's the part that makes it more difficult, is that I think there is a growing realization that this has been marketed very much so
targeted,
to
and
kids.
that was the New York State issue. But I really think that we need sort of at a federal level to really say this is like any other potentially dangerous substance. You can't go down to the corner store, buy a packet off the shelf. Who knows where it's from or how it's been adulterated? And now we're paying the price for that. So I think we need to do something much more aggressive than say we're going to study it more or we're going to advertise for people to, as the CDC said, try and influence kids not to do it. I don't think the kids are responsible enough to really make that decision. They're not informed enough.
And so tell us, what are the lessons learned from the regulatory framework around tobacco and cigarettes that can be applied here? Granted, we're behind. I think no one would dispute that. But what do we know from what works, federal, state, and private sector that we can apply here?
We like to be free and be unregulated, but unfortunately people are often not informed enough to make good decisions. Tobacco, 20s, 30s, 40s, when it came out, they thought it was good for you.
Right.
Alcohol unregulated. Even something like aspirin would be regulated today because overused, it can cause other problems. And I think vaping looks cool. The kids like to do it. It's marketed to kids as flavors. Very dangerous to really entice young people into something that we have not proven as completely safe. And so, unfortunately, you hate to say more regulation, but I think we really need to clear the shelves of any of these bootleg additives, THC and CBD.
Can I ask you, because we've only got about a minute left, Dr. Lustbader, who do you blame? Because I do wonder, we know enough about the damages from smoking and cigarettes that when a product like this comes on the market, you think we would have had this great base of knowledge.
Yes, we should have known better, and just because some of the ingredients are okay, for example, to ingest, like propylene glycol, we did not study, and I don't think we anticipated the market, the money that could be made by these bootleg or counterfeit THC and CBD. Even the CBD, and we've done shows on this, none of that is regulated. We need medical marijuana. CBD may be very helpful, but all of this stuff really needs to be centrally cleared and then made available.
Yeah, and we really, you bring up such a good point, we really just don't know about a lot of this stuff, and so much of it has gotten out onto the market.
Central clearinghouse is something that needs to be done.
You need a product certification that says this has been inspected and this is safe for you.
All right. Always good to catch up with you.
Thank you.
You really always make us smarter about some of the most important medical issues of the day. Dr. Ian Lustbader, Clinical Associate Professor of Medicine over at the NYU Langone Town Medical Center, here with us in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Coming up, Little Springsteen?
A little bit of Springsteen. We're going to talk about a new exhibit in his hometown of Freehold, New Jersey.
Dave Wilson is very excited about this. He's going to be along with us.
Yeah, I feel like, when you want to know anything when it comes to Bruce Springsteen, you got to go to Dave.
Generally music.
Generally
Guy
music.
knows a lot.
He knows an awful lot. And then we have an idea for the weekend, so stick around for that just as well. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Weekend. This is Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. The trade war with China has always worried Wall Street, and now it may be getting personal. And that helped send the stock averages to losses of about 0.25% to more than 1% for the day and seal losses for the week. The Dow fell 71, the Nasdaq 91, the S&P 16. Those losses came after Bloomberg News reported the Trump administration is looking at limiting U.S. investment in China and thinking about delisting Chinese companies from the stock exchanges. The new boss at DirecTV thinks the NFL Sunday ticket may have peaked. Dow Jones reports AT&T's chief operating officer indicates AT&T's DirecTV may not re-up for the exclusive rights to any and all NFL games, especially if the league wants more money for it when the deal expires. And Disney and Sony have settled their differences over Spider-Man. They've agreed to co-produce the next Spider-Man movie, ending a dispute that had hung over the future of the franchise. I'm Joan Doniger, Bloomberg Radio.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba, please be done. Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies? Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
Oh, sorry, I can't take it.
In London, everyone likes to communicate in their own way. If you run a business, the same should be true for your customers and your people. A cloud-based communication system from 8x8 breaks down barriers in ways your standard phone system can't, with voice, video meetings, chat, email and contact centre on one easy-to-use app. It also lets your people connect, create and collaborate from anywhere in the world. Discover more at 8x8.co.uk. 8x8. Communications transformed.
Breathe in and out. Every day, you take 20,000 breaths, potentially exposing yourself to harmful particles of pollution. According to the Royal College of Physicians, air pollution contributes to around 1 in 20 deaths in the UK. But at E.ON, we believe it's time to do something about it. We've committed to installing ultra-fast electric vehicle charge points. We offer solar panels and batteries that collect and store energy. And we've helped a citywide transport operator introduce a large fleet of emission-free electric buses. It's time to clear the air. Search E.ON Clean Air.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Hard breakfast. Tom Hanks is our special guest.
You're either being punished or rewarded. I'll let you decide.
I did do a whole show of Grease on my front lawn when I was a kid. We charged everyone 10p. We raised a fiver and I gave it to Bishop's Waltham Gymnastics Club towards a new crash mat.
Do they get the crash mat?
I mean, it took a couple more years, but yeah.
It does happen to normal people like you. You've won £20,000. Well done.
I love this game.
Hard breakfast with Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Weekdays from 6:30. Listen on your radio, global player, or smart speaker.
Play hard. The relaxing sound of fresh, cold running water.
and you can have it in your kitchen. With amazing savings on Samsung fridge freezers at Currys PC World, like the RB31 with its chilled water dispenser for only $399. Or upgrade to the Samsung RS8000 American-style fridge freezer with water and ice dispenser. A huge 609 litres of storage space at just $1,049. How relaxing. At Currys PC World. Energy rating A+. T's and C's apply.
It's Liz Hernandez with your TuneIn Music News Update. Ariana Grande tells Vogue magazine that she had a karaoke machine in her house when she was growing up. Ariana says, everyone, including my brother Frankie and my mother, were always singing. The soundtrack was always Whitney, Madonna, Mariah, Celine, and Barbara. People magazine claims Miley Cyrus is looking forward to being single. A source tells the magazine Miley split from Liam to focus on herself. To hear music from Ariana Grande and Miley Cyrus, search today's hits on TuneIn. What do songs like My Sharona, Mambo No. 5, and Afternoon Delight, and artists like Chumbawamba and Bobby McFerrin all have in common? They're all one-hit wonders, and for one day only, they're playing together on TuneIn.
All right, stop, collaborate, and listen.
Join us today, National One-Hit Wonder Day, for an all-day takeover of pop hits. Search One-Hit Wonders on TuneIn to hear the greatest one-hit wonders of all time.
Casting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
And you are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. One note just on that last story, we should mention that Mike Bloomberg, the founder and majority owner of Bloomberg News, has campaigned and given money in support of a ban on flavored e-cigarettes and tobacco. Coming up, going to talk a little Bruce Springsteen, but before we get to that, let's get to Charlie Pellet. Hey, Charlie.
Well, hello there, and we're looking at a down day here with the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all declining, losing week as well on the week. S&P 500 index down by about 1.1%. Today, the S&P fell 0.5%, down 15 points at 2961. The Dow down 0.3% at 26,820. NASDAQ down 91, a drop there of 1.1%. It was a week dominated by political drama in Washington, and it ended with the specter of a deepening trade war, sending stocks to a 3-week low. Wells Fargo has named Charlie Scharf Chief Executive Officer, marking a new era in the bank's efforts to turn itself around after a series of scandals claimed 2 previous CEOs in the past 3 years. Scharf is the CEO of Bank of New York Mellon. He will take over on October 21st. Reaction from Scott Seifers, Managing Director at Sandler O'Neill.
Yeah, we like it for a few reasons. I mean, he's an outsider. That was a key goal for the board, its regulators, certain legislators as well. So that checking that box was very important. He's already very well known, very well respected. He's got a wealth of experience as a large financial company CEO. And, of course, this resolves an enormous open-ended question for Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo shares up today by 3.8%. Bank of New York Mellon lower by 4.5%. 10-year up 3/32, yield 1.68%. Gold down 0.5%, $14.96 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude down 0.7%, 56 even a barrel. Recapping losing week, losing Friday for the S&P down 0.5%, ending the week at 2961. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Radio.
All right, well, the boss. It doesn't get any better than that. Certainly not for Dave Wilson. He's our stocks editor. He's here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio, back with us. And on the phone, Melissa Ziabro. She is professor of public history at Monmouth University, Dave Wilson's alma mater, I believe. Is
Indeed,
that right?
And she's done work with the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music, which I must say I have supported both in terms of giving items and financially. And I actually met Melissa about 1.5 years ago at a Springsteen symposium. She was leading a panel of Monmouth students who were working with the archives. In any case, so Melissa, I found out back then that, this business about public history, what is it? Define it for our audience and tell us how it it's been brought to bear in this new exhibit, Springsteen, his hometown.
Yes, so thanks for having me. I am the public historian at Monmouth, and the next logical question is always, okay, what does that mean? So I specialize in our classes in things like oral history and museums and archives management, historic preservation. So having the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music on campus at Monmouth has been a huge boon for my students who get in there and kind of make that their laboratory space.
Okay, let's talk about the new exhibition. It's not the first time Springsteen's been featured. There was one a decade ago at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What makes this one different?
The sense of place is very, very present in this exhibit. I've said there have been Springsteen exhibits in the past, and I'm sure there will be more in the future. But this is an exhibit that I think only his hometown could have done. The Bruce Springsteen Archives at Monmouth is partnering with the Monmouth County Historical Association, which for over 100 years has been in freehold, helping to preserve the history of Monmouth County. And so when you go to the exhibit, the first floor takes a look at Bruce's comprehensive career, from his first real band, the Castiles, right up through Springsteen on Broadway and Blinded by the Light. But as you venture upstairs, we take a deep dive into the freehold of Bruce's youth. Upstairs was primarily curated by my co-curator, Bernadette Rogoff, who works for the Monmouth County Historical Association. So they did a deep dive into the freehold of post-World War II years to look at the influences that made Bruce Springsteen the man that he is, and made the music that the rest of the world has come to love. We also do a real deep dive up there into his genealogy, going back to the Revolutionary War years. So very much a New Jersey, a Monmouth County exhibit.
All right. Well, so, and one of the things that you go back so deep into his lineage, it's unbelievable. I mean, I had no idea he had the history. I guess we all do as Americans, but there are a lot of notable Springsteens throughout history, Melissa.
Yeah, so this genealogy, tracing the families of Monmouth County is really Monmouth County Historical Association's bread and butter. And so this is where their collection gets drawn in. So they have, for example, Revolutionary War era and Civil War era documents that feature Springsteen's family members on them. It's really, really amazing stuff that I don't think you'll ever see anywhere else.
Alexander Springsteen. Like you're thinking about Hamilton?
Yes.
Wow, that is just really cool. Listen, I'm from New Jersey, grew up in New Jersey, and you do think about like one of our, pride and joy is Bruce Springsteen, no doubt about it. And I think it's fascinating that, you mentioned a personal scrapbook made by his mother. What was involved in collecting all of this?
Well, the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music at Monmouth has become the official repository for Mr. Springsteen. And so they have an incredible collection of roughly 50,000 items now. It started off as a fan-based collection with the Friends of Bruce Springsteen and then has now been contributed to by Bruce himself. So, it was just so hard to limit ourselves, to decide what we would use in the space that was available.
Well, and we should just point out the exhibit's going to be up through the fall of 2020, and you can find information on the web at springsteenhishometown.com. So something fun to do.
All the ticket information you need up there.
All right. Well, we really appreciate it. Sounds amazing. And our kudos to Dave Wilson as well for bringing this to our attention. And as he said, he is a big fan and also a supporter of this and a big fan of yours, Melissa. So thank you so much for joining us. That's Melissa Ziabro. She is professor of public history at Monmouth University, alma mater of the great Dave Wilson. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about a very cool TV festival happening out in Greenport, New York this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get to that in just a moment. This on a day when we saw the U.S. stocks hit a 3-week low. Again, trade tensions certainly putting pressure when it comes to the financial markets. Concerns about a deepening trade war once again. So we did see that. We've had the major equity averages down 2 weeks in a row. All right, right now.
Let's get over to Bob Moon. He's got your world national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, thank you. As President Trump tries to smear a whistleblower as an anti-Trump partisan who cobbled together secondhand gossip, key details in the informant's complaint continue to be corroborated. Today, a senior administration official confirmed one of the most significant claims that National Security Council lawyers directed White House staff to store information on Trump's call with Ukraine's leader in a classified system reserved for highly sensitive information. The informant wrote that the White House recognized Trump's potential misconduct and sought to conceal it. He also said Attorney General William Barr might be involved, and the White House transcript showed Trump mentioned Barr repeatedly in his call with Ukraine's president. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wondered today why Barr directed that the White House whistleblower's report be withheld from Congress.
I do think the Attorney General has gone rogue. He has for a long time now. And since he was mentioned in all of this, it's curious that he would be making decisions about how the complaint would be handled.
And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was subpoenaed today for documents related to the White House Ukraine affair. He was warned that refusal to comply by October 4th would constitute evidence of obstruction of the House impeachment inquiry. The State Department previously missed 2 deadlines to turn over the documents, prompting today's subpoena. New numbers from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on the recent outbreak of vaping-related illnesses. At least 805 people have now been sickened, with the death toll rising to 13. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Hey y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Elite advisory firms rely on BNY Mellon's Pershing to meet the needs of their most complex clients. Karen Novak, Chief Operating Officer at Pershing Advisor Solutions, explains how.
At BNY Mellon's Pershing, we bring customized insights and strategies to help you grow your advisory business and stay on the leading edge. We can support the needs of your most sophisticated clients with a full range of investment and wealth management solutions, from access to private banking to consolidated bank and brokerage custody. Learn why so many of the largest advisory firms turn to us for the financial strength and high-touch service that BNY Mellon's Pershing can provide. Are you well positioned to stand out from your competition?
Learn more at Pershing.com or call 800-445-4467. Brokerage custody provided by Pershing LLC and other services provided by Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC. Both members of FINRA and SIPC. Private banking and bank custody provided by BNY Mellon NA. Member FDIC.
Lovely fresh cherries, £2 a kilo.
Oh, sorry, I can't take it.
In London, everyone likes to communicate in their own way. If you run a business, the same should be true for your customers and your people. A cloud-based communication system from 8x8 breaks down barriers in ways your standard phone system can't, with voice, video meetings, chat and contact centre on one easy-to-use app. It also lets your people connect, create and collaborate from anywhere in the world. Discover more at 8x8.co.uk. 8x8. Communications transformed.
We could play epic music, or we could speak in an overdramatic tone, or even set off fireworks. But that's just not smarty. Instead, we let our offer do the talking. Right now, you can grab 25% off our unlimited data SIM. That's just $18.75 a month with no speed restrictions, no credit check, and no long contract to tie you in. Now that's smarty. Just search Smarty Mobile and switch today. It's easy. Offer available for a limited time only. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden.
On breakfast. Tom Hanks is our special guest.
You're either being punished or rewarded. I'll let you decide.
I did do a whole show of Grease on my front lawn when I was a kid. We charged everyone 10p. We raised a fiver and I gave it to Bishop's Waltham Gymnastics Club towards a new crash mat.
Do they get the crash mat?
I mean, it took a couple more years, but yeah.
It does happen to normal people like you. You've won £20,000. Well done.
I love this game.
Hot Breakfast
with Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Weekdays from 6:30. Listen on your radio, global player, or smart speaker.
Play hard.
Want to know what's happening in right now? The latest headlines are just a tap away with Fox News Talk on TuneIn. When news breaks, get up-to-the-minute coverage on developing stories from around the world. Plus, hear all the Fox shows you watch on your TV. Listen to Fox News Talk around the clock on TuneIn.
Did you know TuneIn doesn't just live here on your smart speaker? From the audio that moves you to the audio that gets you moving. Soundtrack your every movement with the free TuneIn app. Available on your phone or tablet. Download TuneIn on the App Store today.
Get social with TuneIn. Follow TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest and greatest audio happenings across the app. Explore exclusive content.
It's called Indie.
Learn about the hottest new podcasts.
The Nostalgia Mixtape, a new podcast hosted by yours truly, Savannah Shroudy.
And get alerted when the big game's about to begin.
This Sunday is Championship Sunday, when we'll find out which two teams are going to play for the Lombardi Trophy.
Add TuneIn to your feed and be in the know when it matters most.
It's Liz Hernandez with your TuneIn Music News Update. Ariana Grande tells Vogue magazine that she had a karaoke machine in her house when she was growing up. Ariana says, everyone, including my brother Frankie and my mother, were always singing. The soundtrack was always Whitney, Madonna, Mariah, Celine, and Barbara. People magazine claims Miley Cyrus is looking forward to being single. A source tells the magazine Miley split from Liam to focus on herself. To hear music from Ariana Grande and Miley Cyrus, search today's hits on TuneIn.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. A move higher for the Dow. The S&P actually a move lower for the Dow. The S&P and NASDAQ. S&P fell 15, a drop of 0.5%. Stocks at a 3-week low. Trade tensions are rising. The Dow down 71 points, down 0.3%. NASDAQ lower by 91, a drop of 1.1%. 10-year up 230 seconds, yield 1.68%. Gold lower by 0.5%, $14.96 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude lower today by 0.5%, $56.13 a barrel. So again, a losing week for U.S. stocks, down 1% on the week for the S&P. We had the S&P falling today by 0.5%, ending the week at 29.61. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
So here's something to do later on in the week. The North Fork TV Festival, co-founder Noah Doyle is with us. He is based in Greenport, New York, but he's in the Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. And I believe we have your director of programming as well. Is that correct?
Elias.
Hi. Elias. Okay, I want to make sure you were here. And he's joining us on the phone from Greenport, New York. So, Noah,
and that's where it's all happening.
It is.
Next weekend.
Lay it out. You've been with us before, but lay it out. What goes on? What can people see? What are all the events?
Well, thank you, Carol and Jason. Elias and I are so excited to be able to spend a few minutes with you. We have an exciting weekend planned in the North Fork in October 4th and 5th. We are premiering 6 independently produced TV pilots that you cannot see anywhere else. You can't get them on streaming platforms. You can't get them on cable. You have to come to the festival if you want to see any of these pilots that were curated by Elias and his team over the past couple months.
And Elias, tell us about some of that, because one of them is something you directed, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're having the world premiere of a show called Distemper, and it's
a great name.
Thanks. Yeah, it's starring Abigail Hawke from Blue Bloods, and it's the true story of Louise Pierce, who is a scientist in 1918 who cured sleeping sickness. So it's a very ambitious project, and we're so proud to be premiering it at the North Fork TV Festival.
And I'll just say I saw some clips that Elias put together. The lead, Abigail Hawke from Blue Bloods, has just done a phenomenal job, and we're really excited for this pilot.
Kelsey Grammer's going to be there. Chris Noth. We've talked with Chris Noth on our air here as well. I'm always curious, like, what in a world where there is, Noah, so much, and Elias, but Noah, let's start with you, so much content, and you're competing for people's, time and their eyeballs. What is it that you're hoping to curate and kind of present here? What's your goal?
Well, I think, in the festival's DNA is that years ago, or over 4 years ago when we started the festival, trying to find a pilot that was independently produced, meaning that was financed, not with studio money, but with friends and family money, or however these creators get the money, was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. This year, and what's changed in the media landscape is we received, dozens of phenomenally made pilots, and we only picked a handful of them. And I think by doing it as this sort of open-end process, we're discovering new voices that aren't being discovered through the traditional system of buying television today.
And so, Elias, what do you think is different right now about TV? We hear so much about, this is a golden moment, this is peak TV. There's so much out there, which is great, but at the same time, it really makes it maybe a little trickier to sort of cut through all of that noise. How do you do it?
That's exactly right. So, that's why we're here. We're here to sort of curate, for you guys. So we got submissions from all over the world, and in every single genre by some really super unique voices. And we went through each show and we scored them, and then we got 4 showrunners who have had like a series on network, and then they chose the 5 shows. So I think the real thing that's happening now is that there's just so much noise that it requires like a heavy amount of curation, which is why we're here again.
Tell us too, Noah, about some of the panels that are there, because I always feel like some of these discussions that are linked with festivals are fascinating, and you really learn about some of the trends that are going on and what's to come.
Well, we're so lucky. So this is our 3rd year we're giving out the Canopy Award, and Mr. Grammer is going to be joining us in the North Fork, accepting it, and presenting the award will actually be the inaugural Canopy Award winner, Chris, who obviously has such a great experience attending the first festival. We're very fortunate that he's coming back. This is the 2nd year that the Village of Greenport is appointing an ambassador to the arts to really be someone who promotes the arts in eastern Suffolk County. And we're very excited that Constance Wu is accepting that honor and will be the 2nd ambassador. So we're excited about the 2 of them joining us. Obviously, there's other speakers and panels, but I think that within the episodic TV business, we have 2 great stars who will have a lot to share with us.
And remind us, Noah, why Greenport?
There's a lot of...
It's like, why not?
Why not? Yeah. And so, look, there are plenty of great festivals around the country in major cities. And I think what Elias and I were trying to do differently, and why we keep coming back to the North Fork of Long Island, because it's not just Greenport, but our events are in places outside of the village and throughout the North Fork. It is a small village that can build a community. So when you go to a major festival, there's just a lot of other competing interests. But when Kelsey and Constance and Elias and myself come to Greenport, we're really going to be there for the full 2 days. And whether you come to the panels or the parties or listen to the screenings, you're there because you're passionate, you care about independent episodic TV, and it makes a wonderful weekend.
No, that's the point, right? Independent.
That's right. That's
I mean, and it's done, would you say, differently? Like, what is it that sets it apart?
Well, I think there's a lot of...
Some of the big studios and stuff.
Sure. I think what separates us apart from other festivals is that we're not premiering or showcasing 20 or 30 pieces of work. And Elias and his team of screeners and readers and judges have really picked a handful that we think makes a really nice weekend. I think that the community and the food scene and the combination of we're hoping our opening night party at Claudio's is sort of like a legendary Long Island venue space. And so I think people can really make it as a destination festival.
And there's vineyards nearby. Can I just say that?
Yes, absolutely.
Great wine. really great
So
wine.
where can people find information?
Go to www.northfork.tv to buy tickets, buy festival passes. I'm really excited to say that we're really almost sold out, and so I would log in now and sign up.
And we just want to mention Bloomberg Philanthropies is a sponsor of the festival.
We're very excited. Bloomberg Philanthropies has been with us for the beginning, and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation joined us this year to sponsor the Science and Technology scriptwriting competition. So.
All right, great stuff. Well, good luck. Noah Doyle, co-founder, North Fork TV Festival, and Elias Plagianos?
I just call him Mr. E.
Plagianos, right?
Plagianos.
Did we get it right?
There you go.
Absolutely.
Great. He's the director of programming, and he is debuting a pilot directed called Distemper. Looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
Yeah, good luck with it. What a week, my God.
What a week.
The UN General Assembly really creates such a kind of energy within the city. And then, of course, add on top of that, the Bloomberg Global Business Forum, where we talk to world leaders, business leaders on, really important issues. Climate change, above them, trade. We talked about inequalities and really got a good feel of the economic environment, market environment.
Well, and going into next week, obviously, we're going to be talking about impeachment potentially and everything that's going on in Washington, and escalation, it seems, potentially coming in the trade war. As you mentioned, some really good Bloomberg reporting on that. We're going to be looking at the IPO market, seeing whether that's going to heal itself before the end of the year. Obviously, a turbulent week on that front as well. Never a dull moment. The second down week in a row, though, for the markets, as you mentioned.
Exactly. So we've kind of rolled over just a little bit. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Do check out our Bloomberg Business Week weekend show on radio and television. For Jason Kelly, I'm Carol Massar, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
Lovely fresh cherries, £2 a kilo.
Oh, sorry, I can't take.
In London, everyone likes to communicate in their own way. If you run a business, the same should be true for your customers and your people. A cloud-based communication system from 8x8 breaks down barriers in ways your standard phone system can't, with voice, video meetings, chat, and contact center on one easy-to-use app. It also lets your people connect, create, and collaborate from anywhere in the world. Discover more at 8x8.co.uk. 8x8. Communications transformed.
We could play epic music, or we could speak in an overdramatic tone, or even set off fireworks. But that's just not smarty. Instead, we let our offer do the talking. Right now, you can grab 25% off our unlimited data SIM. That's just $18.75 a month with no speed restrictions, no credit check, and no long contract to tie you in. Now that's smarty. Just search Smarty Mobile and switch today. It's easy. Offer available for a limited time only. Smarty.co.uk for terms.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden.
On breakfast.
Tom Hanks is our special guest.
You're either being punished or rewarded. I'll let you decide.
I did do a whole show of grease on my front lawn when I was a kid. We charged everyone 10p. We raised a fiver, and I gave it to Bishop's Waltham Gymnastics Club towards a new crash mat.
Do they get the crash mat?
I mean, it took a couple more years, but yeah.
It does happen to normal people like you. You've won £20,000. Well done.
I love this game.
Hot Breakfast
with Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Weekdays from 6:30. Listen on your radio, global player, or smart speaker.
Play hard.
It's hard to enjoy your daily yoga routine when your mind is on your next VAT return and how to avoid the usual mistakes. But with QuickBooks, The new VAT Smart Scan technology does the work for you. As the deadline approaches, it checks for duplicates, looks for anomalies, and reviews VAT codes. So your biggest struggle is touching your forehead with your ankle.
Search for QuickBooks. Perfect for making tax digital. Are you ready for the 7th of October? QuickBooks, backing you.
Do you remember? Here at Tesco, we're still celebrating 100 years of great value, with even more great prices that take you back. Like a 24-pack of Diet Coke, from £8 to just £6.50. All this week at Tesco.
Selected stores subject to availability. Offer ends 1st of October.
Capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. We have to get it right the first time.
We always talk about the losers in a trade war.
You benefit if you're just further away from China.
So that you can too.
What are the ramifications if she crumbles or doesn't crumble?
Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Pompeo subpoenaed. Prosecutor reveals. I'm Mike Moss. The House impeachment inquiry into the president is moving quickly. Correspondent Manu Raju reports 3 committees have subpoenaed the Secretary of State to provide Ukraine-related documents and testimony, and have sent him a threatening letter.
And in this letter that's written by these House chairmen, it says, your failure or refusal to comply with the subpoena shall constitute evidence of obstruction of the House's impeachment inquiry. So what they're trying to say here is give us the information as part of their probe into the Ukraine matter as they consider impeaching this president. But if they don't turn over this information to the committee, they're going to use that as evidence of potential obstruction of Congress.
Pompeo refused to answer questions when pressed by reporters.
Mr. Secretary, were you being briefed about Rudy Giuliani's efforts with the State Department on Ukraine?
Everybody. In Kiev, correspondent Matthew Chance reports the former Ukrainian prosecutor general says Hunter Biden didn't violate anything.
He was the main point of contact for Rudy Giuliani, Trump's personal lawyer, when it came to fishing up and digging out all these incredibly, strange and sort of speculative stories, all about Trump's opponents.
Yuri Lutsenko says Hunter Biden didn't violate any laws while he was on the board of the Ukrainian private gas company Burisma. New saber-rattling in the U.S.-China trade war.
The Trump administration may consider delisting Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges. Strategists at Deutsche Bank tell Bloomberg that Beijing could reciprocate, and next month's new round of trade negotiations could fall apart, or this may just be a Trump administration bargaining chip.
On Wyatt is correspondent Ann Cates. On Wall Street today, the Dow was down 70 points, S&P down 15, the NASDAQ down 91 points today. I'm Mike Moss.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare contracts, and in the process started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. I guarantee if we can't cancel your timeshare contract, you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit, 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. 800-761-0000.
A Senate probe has found NRA officials used access to American officials as a way to curry favor with Russians. Correspondent Scott Carr reports the probe focused on a 2015 trip to Moscow, during which NRA officials were promised an introduction to several Russian business leaders.
The investigation conducted by Democrats on the Senate Finance Committee found the top officials at the National Rifle Association used the group's financial resources, largely members' dues, to gain favor with 2 Russians. Alexander Torshin, the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Russia, and his deputy, Maria Butina, who told the group they had access to top Russian officials.
U.S. District Judge Dolly Gee is blocking the Trump administration's rules for detention of immigrant children along the southern border. The decision from the court came after a hearing where attorneys for detained immigrant children said the rules would let the United States government keep those kids locked up indefinitely. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Charlie Pellet at Bloomberg World Headquarters. U.S. stocks are now at a 3-week low. It was a week dominated by political drama in Washington, and it ended with the specter of a deepening trade war. Laura Kane is head of America's investing at UBS Financial Services.
Political uncertainty is the focus this week. Of course, the impeachment inquiry was top of mind. And of course, trade has continued to be this overhang of uncertainty over the markets. And in our view, as far as, which political event is more likely to weigh in markets, we really are focused on trade in terms of its potential to have implications for the real economy.
As for the political landscape, Catherine Rooney Vera is head of research and strategy at Boltec, and she says the big story for her has been Democrat Elizabeth Warren's surge.
You see Elizabeth Warren jumping in the polls here. I mean, let's face it, 49% of the S&P 500 is based on tech, healthcare, and financials. And this lady, who's now, above Biden in national polls, has talked about breaking up tech banks, breaking up the banks, and reverting corporate tax reform on top of eliminating the private option in favor of a public option.
Boeing CEO Dennis Muhlenberg has agreed to his first scheduled appearance before Congress to discuss the 737 MAX. That's the grounded jetliner involved in 2 fatal crashes. That hearing will take place October 30th. Sources tell Bloomberg the hedge fund D.E. Shaw has built a stake in Emerson Electric and plans to push for a breakup of the automation equipment maker. Shares up 3.3%. Stocks lower, S&P down 15, down 0.5%. The Dow down 70, down 0.3. NASDAQ down 91, a drop of 1.1%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Charlie Pellet. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Best.
Bloomberg Best is about the insight and the context that we get from our guests.
It's a great way to catch up on some of the stories you might have missed on the Bloomberg.
Stories you're not going to find in any other news organization.
Bloomberg Best. Bloomberg's best stories of the week. Powered by 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries around the world.
From the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio, I'm June Grosso.
And I'm Ed Baxter on this edition of Bloomberg Best for Wednesday, September 25th, 2019.
The 3rd annual Bloomberg Global Business Forum brings together the most important world leaders to address threats from global warming to economic prosperity.
We'll hear from influential names including J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, and Alphabet Google's Chief Financial Officer Ruth Porat.
Regulation and innovation are not friends. Listen, we're big companies, and we will have the dialogue and abide by the regulation on a global basis. And when the rules are clear, we're going to follow those rules.
All this and more coming up in the next hour of Bloomberg Best.
The Bloomberg Global Business Forum brings together the most important world leaders from the public and private sectors to address threats from global warming to economic prosperity and to examine the opportunities for solutions.
Now, June, there are remarkable examples of progress being achieved through partnerships and investments across the globe, and the forum assesses where success can be replicated with innovative ideas explored through dynamic leader-to-leader conversation and hands-on working groups.
Bloomberg's David Weston spoke with Michael Bloomberg, the founder and majority owner of Bloomberg LP, the parent of Bloomberg Radio, to discuss Bloomberg Philanthropies, which is the sponsor for the 3rd annual Bloomberg Global Business Forum.
So why do you do it?
It's for a very selfish reason. It's certainly good for the company, building brand, getting people to come in that you can then interview. For altruistic reasons, it's good for the world. And for selfish reasons, this is good for my kids. I want to have a better world for them. And the ways you do that is addressing some of the key issues, climate change, guns, a whole bunch, education, by us making a difference. And I take all the profits from the company and put it in, and then Patty Harris spends the money and trying to do some good for the world. And it puts a smile on your face that you're participating and doing something. And I get a chance to talk to you more here than we normally do talk in a day.
Sad but true. Okay, so this year particularly is given over to climate change.
Yep.
And we have a lot of world leaders and business leaders coming together. What do you hope to come out of it? What concrete result do you hope will come out of this week?
Well, you hope that each of them understands the other guy takes it seriously, so they better take it seriously. Climate change has gone from it doesn't exist to it's a commie plot to it's not man-made to, oh my God, it's really changing. I don't care how we got here. We got to do something about it. And that's progress. Then you focus, and individuals are doing it by changing their patterns at home, and companies are focusing on it, and now government's focusing on it. And this brings together the smaller countries and the bigger countries. The bigger countries have an awful lot more impact individually, but the smaller countries, if you add them together, they really are doing a great deal of damage, or could do a great deal of damage to the world. Look at what Venezuela is doing in burning, and in Indonesia, burning the forest. It's a disaster for the world. And you and your kids, who you love dearly, you don't want to leave them a world that has no future. And if we take away the ability to stop climate change or don't do anything about it, the consequences are horrendous. And even if you say to me, Mike, I don't really think it's ever going to happen, God wouldn't allow it or whatever, if there is a remote chance that it's possible, the consequences are so bad, you have to stop everything and work on it. I mean, it's just nonsensical to say it's never going to happen, and I'm going to bet my life, my kids, my grandkids' lives on it. Not a bet you want to make.
As you described, there are a lot of governments around the world who are addressing this.
Yes.
There are a lot of companies that are addressing it. State and local government here in the United States there's one exception. The federal government in the United States right now is not taking a leadership position. I think it's fair to say.
They are not.
How big a hole is that?
Well, I can only tell you, since Donald Trump said he was going to pull out of COP21, and Obama did some things, but his signature piece of legislation never got approved by Congress. Since then, we've closed 297 out of the 530 coal-fired power plants in the country. We're on our way to getting all of them. We've made a commitment to get them all by 2020. We're starting to work in Europe. We've already closed 70-odd coal-fired power plants there, and we're just beginning. So we can do some things without the federal government. Would you rather have the federal government help? Yes, but I'm not so sure how much I want them to help, because with their help comes restrictions and compromises that we don't have to make in the private sector, or maybe local, state, and local governments and companies don't have to make. So if we're going to have a climate change bill that exempts this and exempts that because the vote's over here and this guy's got a re-election coming up, I'm not so sure we're better off. You go your way. Just keep talking. Don't get involved, and we'll get it done.
How much are economics affected by the climate? I mean, we have, as I say, global leaders here. We have business leaders here. What's the connection?
Well, companies would tell you, number one, their stock price is very affected because their investors want them